The United States and Iran are heading back to the negotiating table in Oman, quietly, urgently, and under the shadow of war. Warships are already in place. Missiles are already aimed. Allies are already choosing sides. And yet, both sides insist they want talks.
The US and Iran have confirmed they'll hold talks in Oman on Friday, hoping to reach a deal to avoid war.
They've expressed an interest in meeting and talking. If they change their mind, we're fine with that too. We prefer to meet and talk. I'm not sure you can reach a deal with these guys, but we're going to try to find out.
He was asked, should the supreme leader of Iran be worried? And he said he should be very worried. You, of course, got that against the backdrop of a massive military armada making its way towards Iran at the moment, and the fact that the United States has talked on several occasions of possibly striking Iran again.
So here's the real question. No headline is asking, are these negotiations a last off-ramp to peace, or just the final ritual before escalation? Stay with me, because by the end of this breakdown, you'll understand why these talks may already be failing before they even begin.
Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Irac says he'll attend the meeting in person. Well, Tehran insists the focus must be on its nuclear program and lifting of US sanctions. Washington, though, maintains the threat of military action remains, with a significant US military buildup in the region.
On Friday, US and Iranian officials will meet indirectly in Oman, with mediators from Qatar, Turkey, and Egypt helping to frame the discussion. This isn't diplomacy as usual, this is crisis diplomacy. The talks are centered on two explosive demands: Iran's nuclear program, the lifting or tightening of US sanctions. But beneath those official talking points lies a deeper struggle over power, sovereignty, and who controls the Middle East's future. To understand why these talks are so fragile, we have to rewind. Since 2003, Iran's nuclear program has sat at the center of tensions with Washington, especially after the International Atomic Energy Agency accused Tehran of undisclosed nuclear activities. Iran insists its program is civilian, permitted under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. The US and its allies don't buy it. Years of sanctions followed, strangling Iran's economy, collapsing its currency, and isolating it financially. Then came the 2015 breakthrough, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, a deal meant to freeze Iran's nuclear ambitions in exchange for sanctions relief. And then, everything unraveled. In his first term, Donald Trump walked away from the JCPOA, branding it the worst deal ever negotiated. Sanctions snapped back. Iran restarted enrichment. Trust collapsed. Under Joe Biden, indirect talks resumed, but nothing substantial moved forward. Now in 2026, the situation is worse than ever. Iran's enrichment capacity is higher, regional tensions are hotter, Israel has already struck Iranian targets, the US has increased its military footprint, and everyone knows it. Iran's leadership is no longer framing this dispute as a technical nuclear disagreement. A senior representative of Ali Khamenei told Iranian state media something far more revealing. This is not about missiles or nuclear issues. This is a fight over governance, over who should rule, God or the tyrant. That statement matters, because it signals that Tehran sees this conflict as existential, not transactional. From Iran's perspective, missiles are defensive, regional allies are strategic buffers, sanctions are economic warfare, and any negotiation that ignores those realities is, in their view, dishonest. Officially, Washington says it wants three things: limits on Iran's nuclear enrichment, constraints on Iran's ballistic missile program, an end to Iran's support for armed allies across the region.
I think in order for talks to actually lead to something meaningful, they will have to include certain things. And that includes the range of their ballistic missiles. That includes their sponsorship of terrorist organizations across the region. That includes the nuclear program, and that includes the treatment of their own people.
But behind those demands lies something deeper: containment. The US wants to prevent Iran from becoming a regional power capable of threatening Israel, US bases, and Western influence all at once. And that's where the talks start to crack, because Iran sees those same capabilities as non-negotiable defenses, especially after recent Israeli strikes that killed more than 1,000 people inside Iran. While Washington tightens pressure, China has publicly backed Iran's right to peaceful nuclear energy and condemned sanctions and threats of force. Europe, meanwhile, is deeply uneasy. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz warned during his Gulf visit that the risk of escalation is growing and that diplomacy is slipping. Even traditional US partners are quietly pushing for de-escalation. Why? Because everyone understands what comes next if these talks collapse. As negotiations loom, the US has already positioned warships, intelligence aircraft, and missile defense systems around Iran. This is not subtle. It's leverage by presence. Iran, in response, has hardened its defenses, expanded missile readiness, and signaled that any strike would trigger regional retaliation, not a contained response. Experts warn that a single miscalculation could ignite Israel, Lebanon, Iraq, the Gulf, and global energy markets. This is no longer just about Iran and the US, it's about systemic instability. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Both sides are entering negotiations with red lines that directly contradict each other. The US wants limitations without guarantees. Iran wants sanctions lifted first. Neither side trusts the other to comply.
Remember, they did so back in June, and Donald Trump referenced that during his interview, said that he had obliterated the Iran nuclear program and that he'd heard that they had started plans to restart. And if they did, he said they would be very, very sorry.
Military pressure is replacing diplomatic goodwill, and history suggests that talks conducted under threat rarely succeed. So here's where we pause. Because the next question changes everything. What happens if these talks fail? Who benefits from collapse? And is war already being quietly priced in by global powers? In part 2, we'll expose what Oman's mediators are really trying to prevent, why sanctions relief may be Iran's non-negotiable line, how Israel's shadow role reshapes the entire negotiation, and whether this moment is the last diplomatic window before a regional explosion. These US-Iran talks are not happening in a climate of trust. They're happening under pressure, threats, and military posturing. Now we go deeper, because what's really at stake here is not just nuclear policy. It's power, it's leverage, and it's who gets to set the rules of the region moving forward. There's a reason these talks are happening in Oman. Oman is one of the few countries trusted, or at least tolerated, by both Washington and Tehran. It has quietly hosted back-channel diplomacy for years, including earlier nuclear negotiations. But this time, Oman's role is different. It's not trying to build a grand deal, it's trying to stop a collapse. According to regional diplomats, the current objective is simple: prevent miscalculation, delay military escalation, buy time. That alone tells you how fragile the situation has become. Let's be clear, Iran is not coming to the table empty-handed. Sanctions have devastated Iran's economy. Currency devaluation, high inflation, restricted oil revenue, limited access to global banking. From Tehran's perspective, talks without sanctions, relief are meaningless. Iranian officials have made this explicit. No partial lifting, no vague promises, no future reassurances. They want real economic relief, now. Washington, however, wants compliance first, and that creates a deadlock that neither side has solved for over a decade. Here's a reality Washington rarely admits publicly. Sanctions don't work the way they used to. Iran has adapted. Stronger trade ties with China, deeper military and technological cooperation with Russia, alternative oil routes, and non-dollar settlements. The longer sanctions stay in place, the less influence the US has over Iran's strategic decisions. And that's why Washington is talking, even while threatening. No discussion of US-Iran diplomacy is complete without addressing Israel. Israel has consistently opposed any deal it believes leaves Iran with uranium enrichment capability, advanced missile technology, regional influence. Recent Israeli strikes on Iranian-linked targets didn't just escalate tensions, They undermined diplomacy. From Tehran's point of view, negotiating while being attacked is absurd. From Washington's point of view, restraining Israel while maintaining credibility is nearly impossible. This contradiction alone threatens to sabotage the talks. While diplomats talk, generals plan. The U.S. has positioned carrier strike groups, intelligence aircraft, missile defense systems. Iran has responded with hardened missile sites, regional deterrence signaling, warnings of multi-front retaliation. Experts agree on one thing: any strike would not stay limited. It would ripple through the Gulf, energy markets, shipping lanes, allied capitals, and once that spiral starts, diplomacy becomes irrelevant. This is the question most coverage avoids, because the answer is uncomfortable. Hardliners in Tehran gain leverage. Hawks in Washington regain justification. Defense industries profit. Regional instability reshapes alliances. Peace, ironically, benefits the fewest people in power, and that's why failure is always easier than success. Strip away the rhetoric, and the conflict reduces to this: does the United States accept Iran as a regional power with autonomy? Or does Iran accept a future where its sovereignty is permanently constrained by external pressure? So far, neither side has shown willingness to answer yes. And until that changes, every negotiation is temporary. This isn't just another round of talks. This is a test of whether diplomacy still works in a world ruled by military deterrence, economic warfare, alliance politics. If these talks fail, the next chapter will not be written by diplomats. It will be written by events. And once that happens, no one controls the outcome. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think these talks are a genuine attempt at peace, or just a pause before escalation? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like the video if this analysis helped you see the bigger picture, subscribe and turn on notifications. Because what happens next will move fast. This story isn't over, it's just entering its most dangerous phase.